General Douglas MacArthur of his commands in the Far East. In 1970, Apollo 13 with astronauts James A. Lovell. Is Lovell from North Carolina? I think maybe he is. Fred W. Hayes, Jack Swigert blasted off on his ill-fated mission to the moon. The hijackers in 1988, Cyprus. There was some good news and some bad news there.
First WNBA pick might be 6'5" All-American. This is the Live Wire Observer staff. When is the WNBA draft? I've called everywhere and can't get an answer. The Women's National Basketball Association 2018 draft is Thursday at the recently opened Nike New York headquarters. The first round begins at 7 p.m. and will be televised on ESPN2. The second and third rounds will be televised on ESPNU starting at 8 p.m. It will also be live streamed on the ESPN mobile app. The WNBA has 12 teams and features the best women's basketball players in the world. It was founded April 24th, 1996 and played its first season in 1997. The 34-game 2018 season, which tips off May 18th, will be the league's 22nd. The league's 8 charter franchises were the Charlotte Sting, Cleveland Rockers, Houston Comets, New York Liberty, Los Angeles Sparks, Phoenix Mercury, Sacramento Monarchs, and the Utah Stars. Charlotte, Cleveland, Houston, Sacramento, and Utah no longer have teams, but the WNBA has added the Atlanta Dream, Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, Dallas Wings, Indiana Fever, Minnesota Lynx, Seattle Storm, and Washington Mystics, and the San Antonio Stars are relocating to play this season at the Las Vegas Aces. The Lynx won last year's championship. The Aces hold the number 1 overall pick, followed by the Indiana Fever. Chicago has the 3rd and 4th picks. Aja Wilson, 6'5" and a 3-time All-American while at South Carolina, is expected to be taken with the first pick. Duke's Lexi Brown, a point guard, is considered a possible first-round pick or early second choice. College powerhouse Connecticut might have more than one player selected in the first round. Azure Stevens, who transferred from Duke, and Gabby Williams are projected in the top half of the first round, and Kia Nurse also might be a first-rounder.
As from local and state, Facebook admits mistake with bloggers. Why, Facebook and all that hullabaloo has caused Diamond and Silk to become more famous. Here's a picture. Margarita Dennis takes a selfie with Rochelle Silk Richardson left and Lynette Diamond Hardaway in front of the Cumberland County GOP headquarters 1 November 2016 in Fayetteville. The Facebook social networking site late Monday said it made a mistake in how it corresponded with North Carolina-based political bloggers Diamond and Silk. The company last week told them their Facebook page is unsafe for the community. The bloggers said Diamond and Silk, who are Lynette Diamond Hardaway and her sister Rochelle Richardson Silk, promoted President Trump and expound on public issues and politics. The women are from Hope County, just west of Fayetteville. They have appeared on national television shows in the past several days to talk about their dispute with Facebook and said they are being censored for their views. The Diamond and Silk page on Facebook had 1.39 million followers as of Tuesday morning, despite Facebook's dispute with them. Their Facebook page has not been shut down. We have communicated directly with Diamond and Silk about this issue, a Facebook spokesman said in an email Monday night. The message they received last week was inaccurate and not reflective of the way we communicate with our community and the people who run the pages on our platform. We have provided them with more information about our policies and the tools that are applicable to their page and look forward to the opportunity to speak them. On Tuesday morning, Hardaway and Richardson disputed the statement. Let us be clear. Facebook has not communicated directly with Diamond and Silk. "We haven't spoken to Mark Zuckerberg or any representative from Facebook," they wrote on their Facebook page shortly after 9 a.m. The bloggers previously said their troubles with Facebook started in September, when they noticed that their Facebook followers were receiving fewer notices of their updates and videos, and they began complaining about that to the company. Conservative commentator and former vice presidential candidate Sarah Palin also weighed in on behalf of Hardaway and Richardson. On Monday, Palin said on her Facebook page that she too has seen her Facebook posts reach fewer people. "Amen to my sisters Diamond and Silk for speaking truth to power and calling out Facebook for suppressing their posted position," Palin wrote. Hardaway and Richardson started their video blogging in early 2015 and promoted Trump after he announced his campaign that summer. They rapidly grew a following in the second half of 2015 and began making campaign appearances with the future president. This was written by staff writer Paul Wolferton. He can be reached at 486-3512.
Hope Mills man faces 13 more child sex exploitation charges. A Hope Mills man accused earlier this year of molesting and forcing a child to perform sex acts while he videoed or photographed them faces 13 more offenses involving 5 additional victims, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office says. Aaron Raphael Price, 21, of the 3900 block of Hunting Drive, was charged Tuesday with 7 counts each of first and third degree sexual exploitation of a child, 4 counts each of second degree kidnapping, statutory sex offense with a child under 15, and taking indecent liberties with a child, and 1 count of statutory rape of a child under 15. Price is accused of photographing or videotaping the victims performing sex acts, resulting in the sexual exploitation charge. In at least 2 of the cases, Price allegedly picked up victims from schools before the sex acts occurred. Price initially was charged in February of 2 counts each of statutory sex offense with a child 15 or under and taking indecent liberties with a minor, and 1 count each of first and third degree sexual exploitation. Bail has been set at $2.35 million.
Wow. Opinions mixed on Williams. Here's a picture of Archie McMillan. He's polishing a pair of shoes at his shop that he calls PP, or Positive Place for Positive People. On Tuesday, McMillan has lived and worked in City Council District 2 for almost 60 years. He has a shoe shop. I hope they tell us where it is, since it's getting more difficult to find the shoe repair. Here's another picture of Timothy Gallant, a customer at Massey Hill Hardware Store and longtime resident of Fayetteville, weighs in on the controversy surrounding Councilman Tyrone Williams. Some want Councilman to step down, others want more info. Many residents in District 2 were unaware that their City Council representative, Tyrone Williams, refused to resign Monday night after all of his fellow council members and the mayor asked him to. Others told a Fayetteville Observer reporter Tuesday that they did not fully understand Williams' alleged ethics violation, and some District 2 residents declined to comment because they did not want their name to be associated with the controversy. But a few residents and business owners had strong opinions about Williams, who was newly elected to the council last November and began serving in December. He has been heard asking for $15,000 from a Prince Charles Holdings LLC developer in an audio tape obtained Friday by the Fayetteville Observer. The men at Mr. Zeke's shoe shop on Tuesday afternoon had varying opinions. The downtown shop is located on Person Street. Maurice Allen has lived in Fayetteville for his whole life. He emphasized that no one should judge Williams until all of the facts in the case are investigated. There is a thinking man. But he also said that Williams should have been more transparent about his business dealings. It seems it should have been done in the presence of city officials, Allen said. Archie McMillan said he worries that residents are judging Williams without knowing all of the facts. It seems to me he was approached to step down without being convicted of anything, McMillan said. I think it's a witch hunt. During Monday night's meeting, Williams said that he would not resign because he wants to represent those in need. I ran for council to serve people who don't always have a voice in city government, Williams said. I'm going to try my best to make sure that they are heard. His statement resonated with McMillan and Allen. McMillan said Mr. Zeke's shoeshine shop has been treated differently than businesses on Hay Street. He said he was upset when the city stopped allowing live music outside his business, while other businesses on Hay Street have it. There are two Fayettevilles, McMillan said. Allen agreed. In this part of town, we don't have much to say in politics. Timothy Gallant, Harold Morton, and James Brewington all had their own views of the incident. They all talked at Massey Hill Hardware on Southern Avenue during the afternoon. I'm not here to judge, but if he did wrong, then we should maybe forgive him, Gallant said. Everyone is under the camera these days. Brewington said that he feels that Williams should resign. Morton was born on Hay Street. He said Williams' actions are concerning, but so are other city council members. He's not the only one who's a little left-sided, if you know what I mean, Morton said. But all three men said they believe that the controversy surrounding Williams will not stop the pace of downtown development, much to their chagrin. I don't think it will hurt a bit, Brewington said. Well, I really agree with what's happening to Person Street. It's like stepping from, a beleaguered block or two into something quite attractive. Morton said he wishes the city would fix J.P. Riddle Stadium on Legion Road rather than build a new one. The Fayetteville Swamp Dogs of the Coastal Plain League play at Riddle. They're going to keep pouring money into it, Morton said regarding the new stadium. I believe he may be right. And we may be pouring more money into it. Gallant said he wishes the city would spend more money and get involved with more development. We aren't like Durham, we aren't like Charlotte, Gallant said. We aren't going to bring people downtown. Business owners downtown were worried about how Williams' ethics violations will reflect on the rest of Fayetteville. There are a lot of resources being spent toward this that need to go elsewhere, Josh Choi, the owner of Winterbloom Tea on Hay Street, said. He added that he believes that nothing will come of the city's inquiry into the situation. It seems to be a waste of time, Choi said. Angela Mallet, the owner of the wine cafe at the coffee shop on Hay Street, said she hopes Williams resigns. We need to be concerned about moving forward with economic development. I think I've heard that for maybe 50 years or more. With economic development, and he is distracting us, Mallet said. And there's a picture of her as well, a business owner on Hay Street by the name of Angie Mallet. And she's the owner of the Wine Cafe and the Coffee Cup on Hay Street. Stop in and give her some business.
Indictment appears to cite Smith, North Carolina State. More indictments handed down Tuesday in the ongoing FBI investigation into allegations of fraud and illegal payments to players in college basketball seem to again reference Fayetteville Dennis Smith Jr. as part of the probe. U.S. Attorney Robert S. Kazuni issued a superseding indictment for former sneaker executive James Gatto and Merle Code and their associate Christian Dawkins on charges of making payments to the families of 6 student athletes to influence where they would attend college. The trio had previously been indicted along with 7 others last September following the FBI's look into bribes and corruption in college basketball. Then Pat Ford and Pete Thaummel of Yahoo Sports reported in February that documents obtained about the investigation indicted payments were made to high school players by agent Andy Miller through ASM Sports. According to one document published in Yahoo's report, Smith allegedly received $43,500 from ASM. Another indictment said that Smith had received a total of $73,500 in loans and included notes about options to recoup the money after Smith signed with another agency. Those payments allegedly occurred before December 15th while Smith was still a student at Trinity Christian School. Even though Smith wasn't named directly in Tuesday's indictments, the numbers and time frame match almost exactly with allegations leveled against Gatto and related to North Carolina State. The indictment reads, in or around 2015, James Gatto, a.k.a. Jim, the defendant, CC3, and others, known and unknown, conspired to illicitly funnel approximately $40,000 from Company 1 to the father of a student-athlete, Parent 1, who was at the time widely regarded as a top high school recruit in the state of North Carolina and who had played for a Company 1 sponsored AAU team. The payments were intended to help secure and maintain the student-athlete's commitment to play basketball at North Carolina State University, a school sponsored by Company 1, and to further ensure the student-athlete ultimately signed a sponsorship agreement with Company 1 upon entering the NBA. Company 1 is believed to be the Adidas shoe company for which Gatto and Code both worked. Smith, a 6'3" guard, was ranked the nation's #1 point guard prospect by ESPN.com as a senior at Trinity. Even though he didn't play his final season at Trinity due to a knee injury. He was courted by most of the major college powers before making a verbal commitment to then North Carolina State Mark Gottfried in September 2015. Smith signed a national letter of intent with the Wolfpack in December 2015 and went on to become the Atlantic Coast Conference Rookie of the Year in his only season in Raleigh. Excuse me. The Dallas Mavericks made him their top pick in 2017 NBA draft, and Smith has enjoyed a strong rookie season in the pros. But Tuesday's indictment alleges that the unnamed player believed to be Smith began having second thoughts about his commitment to North Carolina State. To help to keep the player, the indictment says Gatto and others agreed to make a payment to Parent 1 to ensure the student-athlete remained committed to the state. The indictment alleges in and around October 2015, Gatto made a payment of $40,000 to an unnamed North Carolina State coach to deliver the player's parents. The indictment goes to say the player wound up signing with the Wolfpack in December and played 1 year at State before entering the NBA draft. Although no players or coaches were named in Tuesday's indictment, Louisville, Miami, and Kansas, along with North Carolina State, were mentioned. North Carolina State received a federal subpoena in March seeking documents related to Smith's recruitment. Gatto, Code, and documents are scheduled to go on trial charges October the 1st.
Minority contact remarks raise questions. Fayetteville Mayor Mitch Colvin asked, Mitch Colvin is the mayor of Fayetteville? I didn't even... He will ask T.J. Jenkins, an associate of Councilman Tyrone Williams, to resign from a downtown steering committee after he was recorded bragging about his ability to land minority contracting jobs. Jenkins is a marketing businessman who arranged the meeting in December during which Williams asked a developer for $15,000 to resolve a minor title issue. The meeting, which the Prince Charles Holdings developer secretly recorded and gave to law enforcement, has led to calls for Williams to resign his council seat. But Jenkins is also taking heat for what he said during about 30 minutes of small talk with developer Jordan Jones while waiting for the city councilman to arrive. Jenkins, who's black, talks about his participation in local minority-owned business contracts, including how his firm applied for general trade work for the Prince Charles project. Jones and his investors have $65 million in development planned around the new downtown baseball stadium. Here's Daybreak and Need to Know. Trivia Night. The Boys and Girls Club of the Sandhills and the Moore County Chamber of Commerce will host the third annual Moore Trivia Challenge on Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Fair Barn, 200 Beulah Hill Road in Pinehurst. Rounds will focus on general trivia, including celebrities, sports, movies, music, and trivia about Moore County. Teams of 8 will compete in 3 rounds with 12 questions per round. There also will be a raffle and live auction. The team entry fee is $500. For more information, call 910-692-0777. Oh, that reminds me of James Bond, doesn't it? Number 2, blood drive. The Cape Fear Valley Blood Donor Center is experiencing a low blood supply. Donors may go to the center at 3357 Village Drive, Suite 150, weekdays, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It is also open the third Saturday of the month, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. All blood types are needed, however. The center has an urgent need for type O donors. For more information, call 615-5433. There is a blood drive today at the Fayetteville Observer, 458 Whitfield Street, from 1:30 to 4:30 p.m. and it's open to the public. Vera Bradley Bingo. The Autism Society of Cumberland County will have its 13th annual Vera Bradley Bingo fundraiser Friday at the Kiwanis Recreation Center, 352 Devers Street. Doors open at 5 p.m. Bingo begins at 6. There are $25 packages available in advance or at the door. Go to www.autisticmcc.org to purchase tickets or for more information. We want to hear from you. Please submit your events in writing at least 10 days in advance. Email calendar. You can call 486-3500.
Fort Bragg exercise is mostly virtual. For the past several weeks, thousands of troops have been waging an invisible war centered around Fort Bragg, and none of them have fired a shot. The war-fighting exercise currently underway, the training is set to end today, involves conventional special operations and foreign forces operating in a largely virtual environment. Headquarters of the 18th Airborne Corps, 1st Special Forces Command, 3rd Expeditionary Sustainment Command, 4th Infantry Division, and the British Army's 3rd UK Division have deployed to training areas to stimulate austere environments at or near the front lines of a massively conflict against a near-peer threat. Warfighting exercises are common across the U.S. Army, often used to validate the training of a division or corps command. But officials said the itinerary, which takes mostly at Fort Bragg but also involves troops at Herbertville, Florida, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, and Fort Carson, Colorado, is the first of its kind. The training fully integrates both Special Operations Forces through a Special Operations Joint Task Force and a British division working under the 18th Airborne Corps. In doing so, the training more closely resembles how the Army would fight in a real-world battle, said Brigadier General Xavier Brunson, the 18th Airborne Corps Chief of Staff. This is how it is in combat, Brunson said. For the past 16 years, we fought alongside these people day after day.
Here's I don't know if you saw any of this on TV last night. Zuckerberg discloses site working with Miller's probe. Washington, D.C. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg discussed Tuesday his company is working with Special Counsel Robert Mueller in the federal probe of Russian interference in the 2016 presidential campaign, and working hard to change its own operations after the harvesting of users' private information by a Trump campaign-affiliated data mining company. If anybody had asked me, I would have said that eventually what has happened to make such a big disturbance was going to happen. The founder of the social media giant publicly apologized for his company's errors in failing to better protect the personal information of its millions of users. A controversy that has brought a flood of bad publicity and sent the company's stock value plunging. He seemed to achieve a measure of success. Facebook shares surged 4.5% for the day, the biggest gain in 2 years. Zuckerberg told the Senate Judiciary and Commerce Committees that he has not been personally interviewed by Mueller's team. But I know we're working with them. He offered no details, citing a concern about confidentiality rules and of the investigation. Earlier this year, Mueller charged 13 Russian individuals and 3 Russian companies in a plot to interfere in the 2016 presidential election through a social media propaganda effort that included online ad purchases using U.S. aliases and politicking on U.S. soil. A number of Russian ads were on Facebook. Well, and what do you think, what Mr. Mueller, who is spending millions on this, what is he going to do about it? That the Russians did it. Okay, the Russians did it, let's go on with life and save many millions of dollars. During Tuesday's at times contentious hearing, Zuckerberg said it had been clearly a mistake to believe the data mining company Cambridge Analytica had deleted user data that it had harvested in an attempt to sway elections. He said Facebook had considered the data collection to be a closed case because he thought the information had been discarded. Facebook also didn't alert the Federal Trade Commission, Zuckerberg said. He assured senators the company would handle the situation differently today. He began a 2-day congressional inquisition with a public apology for the way Facebook handled the data mining of its users' data. He took a responsibility for failing to prevent Cambridge Analytica, which was affiliated with Donald Trump's presidential campaign, from gathering personal information from 87 million users. Separately, the company began alerting some of its users that their data was gathered by Cambridge Analytica. A notification that appeared on Facebook for some users Tuesday told them that one of your friends used Facebook to log into a now-banned personality quiz app called This Is Your Digital Life. The notice says the app misused the information, including public profiles, page like birthdays, current cities, by sharing it with Cambridge Analytica. Zuckerberg had apologized many times already to users and the public, but this was the first time before Congress. He also is to testify Wednesday before the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Senator John Thune, Republican from South Dakota, the Commerce Committee chairman, told Zuckerberg his company had a 14-year history of apologizing for ill-advised decisions related to user privacy. How is today's apology different? Thune asked. We have made a lot of mistakes in running the company, Zuckerberg responded. I think it's pretty much impossible, I believe, to start a company in your dorm room and then grow it to be at the scale that we're at now without making some mistakes. Zuckerberg said Facebook is going through a broader philosophical shift in how we approach our responsibility as a company. He said the company needs to take a more active role that includes ensuring the tools it creates are used in a good and healthy way. Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican Utah, said Zuckerberg's appearance marked the most intense hearing for a tech company since entrepreneur and businessman Bill Gates testified before Congress in March 1998. Many of the senators' questions seemed to focus on Facebook's basic functions, such as its privacy settings and what it does and doesn't do with data. Because each of the 44 senators had just minutes to ask questions, there was little time for tough follow-ups. On some subjects, that allowed Zuckerberg to tell the lawmakers that his people would get back to them with more information. In the hearing, Zuckerberg is trying to both restore public trust in his company and stave off federal regulations that some lawmakers have floated. In his opening statement, he also apologized for the company's involvement in facilitating fake news and Russian interference in the elections. Democrat Senator Bill Nelson of Florida said he believes Zuckerberg was taking the congressional hearing seriously because he knows there is going to be a hard look at regulation. Oh, that's wonderful. Let the government take care of it, then it'll really be terrible. Democrats like Nelson have argued that federal law might be necessary to ensure user privacy. Good luck on that. Republicans have yet to get behind any such legislation, but that could change. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican, South Carolina, asked Zuckerberg if he would be willing to work with lawmakers to examine what regulations you think are necessary in your industry. Absolutely, Zuckerberg responded, saying later in exchange with Senator Dan Sullivan, Republican Alaska, that I'm not the type of person who thinks that all regulation is bad. He called for a full conversation about what is the right regulation, not whether it should or should not be. Okay, well, you just spend a few $1 million on that.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the SENCRRS in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600. Your radio hosts today are
Marty Baldwin
and Ralph Walkie Robertson, and we are proud to serve you today. And this is a reminder that our 8th annual major fundraising project, the 8th annual golf tournament, has been rescheduled for Saturday, May the 12th. We got rained out on the original date, so the new date is Saturday, May the 12th at Gates 4 Golf and Country Club, starting at 11 a.m. Tee-off will be at high noon. Lunch and dinner served. This is a $400 value per $100 per player for only $65. And of course, you have a chance to win a car on 2 different holes for first hole-in-one. So get off your duff and help us with the 8th annual golf tournament. How can you help? Surely you know somebody that plays golf. Tell them about the tournament. Ask them to sign up and play with the radio reading service. You can just show up the day of the tournament, or you can send your money in to Val here at the radio reading station. It's only $65 a player. You don't have to have a foursome. We'll match you up. Also, you can get door prizes for us anywhere you shop. Ask them to give you a door prize for the 8th annual radio reading tournament golf tournament. We need your help. Help us help you.
A teacher charged on 2 assaults on Howard student. A teacher at Howard Learning Academy is accused of assaulting a student, the Cumberland County Sheriff's Office said. Christian Cook, 36, a teacher in the Exceptional Children's Department, was charged today with 2 counts of simple assault. The charges are misdemeanors. The alleged assault happened March 21, the Sheriff's Office release said. Cook is accused of grabbing a female student's throat and pushing her into a table. Short time later, Cook grabbed the minor victim by the hair and pulled her backwards, forcing her to the ground, the release said. Cook turned herself in Tuesday at the Sheriff's Office. Bail was set at $1,000, Howard Learning Academy at 1608 Camden Road. Board stays mum on superintendent. The Cumberland County School Board's choice for a superintendent remained a secret Tuesday after the board met in closed session for more than an hour. The board is scheduled to introduce the new leader of the school system at a special meeting this afternoon. Board Chairwoman Carrie Sutton declined to discuss the new superintendent or what the board members talked about behind closed doors. The board members met in closed session for an hour and 16 minutes. The board discussed personal matters according to the motion to hold a closed meeting. Sutton has not revealed any identifying information about the new superintendent other than calling the candidate he. She has previously described him as amazing and said that he meets the school system's needs. The board had a strong pool of applicants, Sutton said. The school system received 31 applications for the position, including the leaders of 9 school systems in North Carolina and 8 others with experience leading school systems across the country. The board held a public forum in November to get feedback from residents about the traits they would like to see in the new superintendent. Surveys about the characteristics were filled out by residents of the community and school system staff members. Superintendent will succeed Frank Till Jr., who led Cumberland County schools for 7 years. Well, that's not correct. There was somebody else in there, too. In July, the board voted unanimously to buy out the final year of his $271,000 contract. Interim Superintendent Tim Kinlaw, who has worked for the school system for 24 years, did not seek the permanent position. The special meeting is scheduled for 2 p.m. in the boardroom in the school system's Central Services Building on Gillespie Street. Steve Devane can be reached at 486-3572 if you want to tell the person who wrote this anything. Okay.
2 charged in abuse of infant.
Oh my.
Carthage. 2 women were arrested Saturday on child abuse charges after a resident with concerns about the treatment of a baby called the Moore County Sheriff's Office. Danetta Lee Sanders, 39, of the 800 block of George Pad Road in Robbins, and Keisha Joanne Welch, 24, who lives in Chatham County, are charged with felony neglect child abuse resulting in serious injury. After the resident notified the sheriff's office, a deputy was sent to Sanders' home, Chief Deputy Frank Rodriguez said. We dispatched a deputy, and when he arrived on the scene, he immediately realized the child's condition was of concern. The deputy called for an ambulance, and the child was taken to First Health Moore Regional Hospital. Based on the emergency room doctor's medical evaluation, the child was subsequently transferred to UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill. He identified the child as a girl who was less than 1 year old. Rodriguez declined to say what kind of abuse the child has suffered or what the baby's condition is. The women were charged with child abuse as a result of the child's condition. The baby was at Sanders' residence. He did not know the relationship between Sanders and Welch, but said they are not related. The Moore County Department of Social Services is involved with the investigation. Sanders is being held in the Moore County Detention Center while Welch is in the Chatham County Detention Center. Bail for each was set at $100,000.
Okay, here's a little more crime. Pregnant woman's death considered double homicide. Southern Pines. Police said Tuesday they are now investigating the death of a pregnant 18-year-old woman found in her vehicle as a double homicide. Yana Clarice Barrett of Sanford was 9 months pregnant and her unborn child died as well, the Southern Pines Police Department said in a news release. North Carolina has a charge for murder of an unborn child, which carries a sentence of life in prison. I did not know that. Barrett's body was found inside her car about 7:45 Sunday on a dirt path that extends south of Gaines Street. Police have not released a cause of death, but have said they do not believe it was a random act. Anyone with information is asked to call the Southern Pines Police Department at 910-692-7031 or the Crime Tips line at 910-693-4110. Callers do not have to give their names. Search continues for man missing in park. The search for a Fayetteville man who went missing at Singletary Lake State Park is now a recovery effort, a spokeswoman for the North Carolina Division of Parks and Recreation said Tuesday night. Jesse Scrow, 23, who was camping in the Bladen County Park with a church group from Fayetteville, was reported missing at 9 a.m. Saturday. His canoe was found upright on Singletary Lake later that day. Due to the length of time since Mr. Scrow went missing, the weather, and the lack of any signs that Mr. Scrow left the lake, the search is now a recovery effort, spokeswoman Katie Hall said. Today, Wednesday, 2 boats with specialized sonar equipment that relay images from underwater will be deployed, while 2 dive teams will research the lake. Boats designed to operate in search and rescue efforts will search along the shoreline. Singletary Lake is a Carolina Bay lake, Hall said. Most of the lake is 5 to 7 feet deep, but parts of it are 12 to 14 feet deep. Anyone with information is asked to call Bladen County Emergency Services, 910-862-6760. Bladen undercover effort nets 2 arrests. Elizabethtown. A month-long undercover drug operation resulted in the arrest of 2 men last week, the Bladen County Sheriff's Office said in a news release Tuesday. Both of these arrests were the direct result of citizen complaints, Sheriff James McVicker said in the release. Houston Junius Smith, 26, of the 600 block of McLeod Street in Elizabethtown was charged with selling and delivering cocaine, manufacturing cocaine, possessing cocaine, maintaining a drug dwelling, and possessing cocaine with intent to manufacture, sell, and deliver. Smith's bail was set at $100,000. William Dean Grazer, 53 of Sunset Park Road in Bladenboro, was charged with selling and delivering marijuana, manufacturing marijuana, maintaining a drug dwelling, and possessing marijuana with intent to manufacture, sell, and deliver. Grazner's bill was set at $20,000. When we get information about the sale of illegal narcotics in our community, we do the best to act on them and shut the dealers down, McVicker said. We welcome help from the community and our citizens. I think I have a deputy seize 241 gambling machines. Raleigh. Hoke County deputies seized 241 illegal gambling machines Monday after search warrants were secured at 2 Rayford businesses that had drawn complaints from residents. The machines were seized at Club Pond Skills Internet Cafe at 3010 Club Pond Road, in the shops at Rayford Road Shopping Center, and at Triple S Bingo, 2130 South 401 business about 2 miles from a sheriff's office. The sheriff's office said in a news release. Sheriff Hubert Peterkin said he had received complaints from residents and businesses, especially in the shopping center where Walmart is, about people not being able to find parking. Of the 241 gaming machines seized by the sheriff's office, 178 of them were taken from the Club Pond Skills Internet Cafe. Deputies went to the businesses about 2:30 p.m. at that time. Between 60 and 70 people were in the Internet Cafe, which is in a space once occupied by the Hibachi Grill restaurant. A large amount of money was seized from the businesses, but Peterkin would not say how much. Marijuana and crack cocaine also were found during the searches. No arrests were made, Peterkin said, but investigators are seeking warrants for the people responsible for running the businesses. Nancy McCleary can be reached at 486-3568. One other short information. This is about a Rayford man charged in a shooting. A Rayford man is accused of shooting another man in the leg last week. Don Marshall Small, 45, of the 700 block of Forest Street, is charged with assault with a deadly weapon with intent to kill, inflicting serious injury, possession of a firearm by a felon, and discharging the firearm in the city limits. The shooting happened about 3:50 a.m. April 4 at Small's home, said Major R. Crumpler of the Rayford Police Department. Officers arrived to find that James Brandon Brown, no age or address given, had a shotgun and wound to the leg. Small, who was on the property, was taken into custody and admitted to having the weapon and shooting Brown. Brown was taken to Cape Fear Valley Medical Center for treatment of the injury, which was not life-threatening. Luckily, he was not injured too bad, Crumpler said. Crumpler said Small and Brown had used drugs earlier that night. A small amount of drugs were found at the scene, according to reports. The motive for the shooting has not been determined, but bail was set at $285,000. Wow! They must have long rap sheets. And now Ralph.
Parenting laws letting kids roam could catch on. Salt Lake City at the Utah passed the country's first law legitimizing so-called free-range parenting Groups in states from New York to Texas are pushing for similar steps to bolster the idea that supporters say is an antidote for anxiety-plagued parents and overscheduled kids. Free-range parenting is the concept that giving kids the freedom to do things alone, like explore a playground or ride a bike to school. Makes them healthier, happier, and more resilient. It surfaced nearly a decade ago when Lenore Skenazy touched off a firestorm with a column about letting her 9-year-old son ride the New York City subway alone. Since then, she's become a vocal advocate for free-range parenting. Critics say letting kids strike out on their own can expose them to serious dangers. From criminals to cars, parents have been investigated by child welfare authorities in several high-profile cases, including a Maryland couple who allowed their 10 and 6-year-old children to walk home alone from a park in 2015. But lawmakers and policy groups in several states say the protective pendulum has swung too far, and it's time to send a message that parents who raise their children in a healthy environment can grant them more freedom. Utah's new law specifies that it isn't neglectful to let well-cared-for children travel to school, explore a playground, or stay in the car alone if they are mature enough to handle it. Free-range parenting differs from the concept of latchkey kids, or those who take care of themselves after school, in that it generally emphasizes getting kids outside in the neighborhood as a way to develop independence, Boston-based clinical psychologist Bobby Wigner said. Fears about letting kids make their own way date at least in part to cases like Ethan Hotz, who was among the first missing children pictured on milk cartons after disappearing while he walked to his New York City bus stop alone in 1979. Meanwhile, as education has become more essential in the workforce, parents are increasingly eager to give their kids a leg up, lessons in everything from coding to cello. We sign our kids up for all these activities, tutoring, different things to create this perfect resume from a very young age. But it's really at a detriment to the kids' mental health. While giving kids independence with parent oversight helps, it's hard for adults to escape pressures. Parents need permission to do this. A self-avowed free-range parent, she said a police officer once knocked on her door and threatened to call child services after seeing her then 3.5-year-old son standing at the end of the driveway talking to neighborhood kids. She'd like to see Massachusetts follow Utah's lead. In New York, Democratic State Assemblyman Phil Steck said he is getting up to introduce a similar proposal. When I was a child, you let your dogs and your children out after breakfast and they had to be home for dinner, he said. I feel I gained a far more just playing on the street than my children did from being in organized sports activities.
Learn about the Holocaust at the library by Matthew Clevin. Is an informational services librarian at the Bordeaux Branch Library. April is Holocaust Remembrance Month. One of the best ways to learn about anything is to talk to someone who lived through it. On Saturday at 1 p.m., the Bordeaux Branch Library will host a talk with a Holocaust survivor. Raleigh resident Abe Piacek will be in Fayetteville to discuss his personal experiences as a Holocaust survivor. Piacek is a Polish Jew, was 11 years old when German army invaded Poland. Starting in 1941, he spent time in 4 concentration camps, including Auschwitz. He was liberated by Allied forces in 1945. There are 2 Holocaust-related events happening outside the library in Cumberland County. On Thursday at 6:45 p.m., the local Fayetteville Beth Israel Synagogue on Morganton Road is hosting a talk with Pastor Chris Edmonds. He is the son of World War II hero Master Sergeant Roddy Edmonds, whose valor saved more than 200 Jewish American soldiers in a PO camp in Germany. Holocaust, the Power of Words, the American Response, is an event on Fort Bragg at the Iron Mike Conference Center on Thursday from 10 to 11 a.m. This event is open to everyone, but passes are required to enter Fort Bragg. For those who would like to learn more about the Holocaust, there are two local organizations to consider: the Chapel Hill Bay Center for Holocaust, Genocide, and Human Rights Education of North Carolina and their affiliate, the Holocaust Speakers Bureau. Bordeaux Library hosted a talk with a survivor from the Holocaust Speakers Bureau last year. Find them online. The agency sponsoring Piaczek's visit this year is the North Carolina Council of the Holocaust, funded by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. It can be found online. If you cannot attend any of these events but still want to learn about this dark period in the history, there are plenty of books and DVDs available at your public library. One of the classics, At Night, by Elie Wiesel, is by a Holocaust survivor who would later win the Nobel Prize, proving that a book on this subject does not have to be long and dry. Maus, M-A-U-S, by Art Spiegelman, was the first graphic novel to win the Pulitzer Prize in 1992. Two books that are more recent are The Book Thief by Marcus Suzak and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne. Perhaps the standard bearer is A Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, which is on most school reading lists. The latter three were all made into acclaimed films as well. Other movies on the Holocaust available at the library are The Pianist, Schindler's List, and Life is Beautiful. All three of this were Oscar winners. Spanish-American philosopher George Santayana wrote in 1905, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. This is why it is important we learn about it, so that we make sure it never is forgotten or repeated." For more information on library programs, go to cumberland.lib.North Carolina, U.S., or visit your local library location.
Okie dokie. Weapons experts to inspect attack site. The International Chemical Weapons Watchdog said Tuesday it was sending a fact-finding mission to the Syrian town where a suspected chemical gas attack took place over the weekend, following a request from the Syrian government and its Russian backers that appeared to be aimed at averting punitive Western military action. It was not immediately clear whether the announcement would delay or prevent a U.S. strike in Syria. President Donald Trump has vowed to respond forcefully to Saturday's attack on civilians in the town of Dona, and warned that Russia or any other nation found to share responsibility would pay a price. In a statement, the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons said the fact-finding mission was preparing to deploy to Syria shortly, though it did not give a more precise timetable on when the inspectors would arrive. Trump on Tuesday canceled plans to travel to South America later this week, choosing to stay in the United States to manage the response to the events in Syria. The White House said he later spoke with British Prime Minister Theresa May, and the two agreed not to allow the use of chemical weapons to continue. Trump also discussed Syria with French President Emmanuel Macron, who said Tuesday that France would decide in the coming days on a strong and joint response with the U.S. and Britain to the suspected attack. The incident has sparked international outrage and ratcheted up tensions in the already volatile Mideast, raising the specter of possible imminent American retaliation amid Russia's warnings against any such action and denials that any chemical weapons attack took place. Adding to the tensions, Iran, a strong ally of Syrian President Bashar Assad, threatened to respond to an airstrike on a military base by Monday that the Syrian government, Russia, and Iran blamed on Israel. 7 Iranians were among the estimated 14 people killed in the missile strike, and a senior Iranian official visiting Damascus said the attack will not remain unanswered.
Okay, it's the break time, I think.
Yes, it is.
I don't have a paper for it.
This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making charitable donations, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. Our post office box number is 35029, Fayetteville, North Carolina 28303. If you have any questions or comments, please call us at 910-672-1600. Your radio hosts are
Marty Baldwin
and Ralph Walkie Robertson. And we are proud to serve you today. And of course, don't forget, we have our 8th annual major fundraiser coming up on May 12th. That's been rescheduled from a rain-out date from April the 7th. In an effort to support our mission and continued financial success, we'll be hosting the 8th annual tournament, and you can help. You can help. Get off your duff and help us in this fundraising activity. How can you help? Obviously, you buy stuff from merchants. Ask them for a door prize and get it to Val, or Val will come pick it up from you. Just call it, pick it up from the merchant, and then call Val and she'll come by and pick it up. Anything at all that you can get as a door prize would be appreciated. Also, we may have people to support us with a sponsorship of $100. A corporate sponsorship of $300 will include 4 players eligible to play for free. And the players get lunch and dinner and free beverages while playing. It's the best golf tournament ever. So help us help you get the word out. That's Saturday, May 12th, the Gatesford Golf and Country Club at 12 noon tee-off. I'd like to dedicate the reading of the obituaries to my dearly departed mom, Virginia Brantley Robertson, who spent her last 12 years non-ambulatory and unable to see, and would have loved the radio reading service. Excuse me. And to Drew Wotanic, who was a volunteer here at the radio reading service and recruited me. And to Harold F. Rickman, who founded the radio reading service.
Would you like for me to go on and read my part? While you
Yes, go ahead.
Here's the region and elsewhere, and then Ralph will get you up with more local Fayetteville articles. Jimmy H. Jackson of Autryville, 57, passed away Monday, April 9. The family will receive friends from 1 p.m. to 2:45 p.m. Thursday at a church prior to the service. In lieu of flowers, memorials may be made in Johnny's name to Concord Baptist Church, Building Fund. Services entrusted to Butler Funeral Home, Clinton Road, Stedman. Winfred H. Wingart of Laurenburg, 87, passed away on Thursday, March 29, and a memorial service will be held at 11 a.m. Thursday, April 12, 2018, in the Mausoleum Chapel at Cumberland Memorial Gardens, and services entrusted to Rogers and Reese Funeral Home. Elise Smith of Raleigh, 82, died Thursday. Funeral Friday, 1 p.m., First Missionary Baptist Church, 501 Martin Street. Viewing F.W. Newton and Sons Mortuary in Elizabethtown. John Robert Benton of Whiteville, 89, died Tuesday. Funeral Saturday, 2 p.m., Mackenzie Mortuary Chapel, Visitation, Mackenzie Mortuary, Friday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Flynn Cemetery is the burial, Mackenzie Mortuary. Rebecca Kirkland of CAI Kaysen, Raleigh, 91, died April 9. Memorial Friday, 1 p.m. First United Methodist Church, 208 Sampson Street, Clinton. Visitation, reception following in Church Fellowship Hall. Burial, Clinton Cemetery. Hubert Earl Rogers Jr. of Wilmington, 80 years old, died Monday, April 9. Graveside service Friday, 1 p.m. Oleander Memorial Gardens, Wilmington. Visitation following the service at Family Home, 27 Alicia Drive, Floyd Mortuary. Richard Leroy Morgan of Lakeville, 91, died Sunday, April 8, 2018. Funeral Wednesday, 2 p.m. Pineywood Baptist Church. Visitation, Cox Memorial Funeral at Home.
He killed in
Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Burial, Pinewood Baptist Church Cemetery. Cox Memorial Funeral Home and Crematory, Bass. McDennis Goodman of Clinton, 59, 120 Southwood Drive, died Saturday, April 7. Funeral Friday, 1 p.m. Butler and Son Funeral Service. Visitation, Funeral Home. Thursday, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Burial, Mount Pleasant Church Cemetery in Clinton. Butler and Son Funeral Service. Rosal Edge Russ, 59, of Elizabethtown, died Monday. Funeral Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Suggs Grove Missionary Baptist Church. Visitation, Suggs Grove Missionary Baptist Church, Thursday, 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Burial, Church Cemetery, Bladden, Gaskins. Rosa Roberts of Parkton, 76, died Thursday, April 5th. Funeral Friday, 2 p.m. Beauty Spot Baptist Church. Visitation, Colvin Funeral Home Chapel. Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Burial, Mount Hebrew Cemetery, Colvin Funeral Home. Maggie Graham of Bolton, 78, died Monday, April 9. Funeral Friday, 3 p.m. New Hope Baptist Church, Bolton. Visitation, New Hope Baptist Church. Thursday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Burial, New Hope, Peacock Funeral Home. Ina Wood Dew, D-E-W, Irwin, 84, of Irwin, died Monday, 9 April 2018. Graveside, Thursday, 3 p.m., Irwin Memorial Park. Visitation, Skinner and Smith Funeral Home. Thursday, 1:30 p.m., 2:30 p.m. Burial, Irwin Memorial Park, Skinner and Smith. Elizabeth Guyton Priest of Council, 97, died Monday, April 9. Memorial Saturday, 11 a.m. at Carvers Creek, UMC. Visitation, Carvers Creek, UMC Fellowship Hall, Saturday at noon. Bladen Gaskins Funeral Home.
death notices. The following deaths have been reported. See upcoming editions of the Fayetteville Observer for complete obituary information. In Cumberland County, Willie James Lacewell, 86 of Fayetteville. Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. Karan M. Howard, 18 of Fayetteville. Herring Funeral Care and Cremation. Jean R. Thompson, 80 of Fayetteville. Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Christine C. Lamb, 43 of Spring Lake, Agcott Funeral Home and Crematory. Virginia Louise Barnett, 67 of Fayetteville, Wiseman Mortuary. Jermaine Lamar Johnson, 30, of Parkton, Wiseman Mortuary. In the Cape Fear region, Marion Lex Snook Moser Sr., 94, Maxton, Richard Bowles Funeral Service. Isaac K. Monroe, 21, of Elizabethtown, Johnson's Funeral Service. Willie Robertson, 92, of Maxton, Purcell Funeral Home, Laurinburg. Layden Dawsey, 51, of Elizabethtown, Johnson's Funeral Service. Frank Bryant, 75, of Wagram, Purcell Funeral Home, Laurinburg. In Cumberland County, Command Sergeant Major, retired, Salvatore Sam Mayo, 95, of Fayetteville, passed away on Saturday, April the 8th, with his loving family at his side. Religious service will be held at St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Catholic Church on Friday, April 13th at 12:30 p.m. Burial will take place at the Sand Hill State Veterans Cemetery on April 13th at 2 p.m. The family will receive guests following the interment at the residence of Patricia O'Brien to celebrate Pepe's life. In lieu of flowers, the family requests donations be made in memorial of Sam Mayo to the Fort Bragg Fisher House, 3120 Loop Road. Merle J. Hayes, 89, beloved mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, passed away in her home on Sunday, April the 8th, after a long illness. A visitation will be tonight, Wednesday, April the 11th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Rogers and Breese Funeral Home. A memorial service will be held at First Baptist Church, 201 Anderson Street at 2 p.m. Thursday, April the 12th. A graveside service will follow at Lafayette Memorial Park. Service is entrusted to Rogers and Breese Funeral Home. Destin Russell Miller. Destin Russell Miller, 86, of Fayetteville, passed away on Thursday, April the 8th, in his home. Russell was born April the 2nd in Greene County, Kentucky, to the late Russell and Ivory Miller. He preceded in death by his brother, Dale Miller. Funeral services will be Thursday, April the 12th, at 1 p.m. at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In lieu of flowers, memorials will be made to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Arrangements by Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. William C. Dukes. William Carlisle Dukes passed away on April 6th in Kingsport, Tennessee, at the age of 84. Following retirement from the military, Bill lived in Fayetteville, where he was a college professor and businessman. He is survived, and a service will take place at Arlington National Cemetery at a date to be determined. Retired Master Sergeant Robert William Gleemaker. Retired Master Sergeant Robert William Gleemaker, 83, of Fayetteville, died Saturday, March 31st. Memorial Saturday, 2 p.m., SFA and Green Beret Facility, 4990 Doc Bennett Road, Fayetteville. Rogers and Breese Funeral Home. George M. Washington, 82, of Fayetteville, died Saturday, April the 7th. Funeral Thursday, 11 a.m., Smith Chapel Free Will Baptist Church. Viewing at the church, Thursday, 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Burial, Lafayette Memorial Park, Ramsey Street, Wiseman Mortuary. Jesse B. Rudd. Jesse B. Rudd, 97, of Fayetteville, died Sunday, April the 8th. Graveside Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Cumberland Memorial Gardens visitation. Jernigan Warren Funeral Home Thursday 11 a.m. to noon. Jernigan Warren Funeral Home. Paul Glenwood Dason. Paul Glenwood Dason, 65 of Fayetteville, died Saturday, April the 7th. No services are planned at the time. Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. Dorothea Miles. Dorothea Miles, 97 of 6405 Frederick Drive, Fayetteville, died Friday, April the 6th. Funeral Thursday, 1 p.m. Beauty Spot Missionary Baptist Church. Viewing at the funeral home Wednesday, 5 p.m. to 7 8 p.m. Burial Church Cemetery, Herring Funeral Care and Cremation. Betty Ellen Matthews. Betty Ellen Matthews, 85 of Fayetteville, died Sunday, April the 8th. Funeral Friday, 3 p.m. Rogers and Brees Funeral Home Chapel. Visitation Rogers and Brees Funeral Home Thursday, 6 to 8 p.m. Burial Stony Point Baptist Church Cemetery. Rogers and Brees Funeral Home. Alberta B. Council. Alberta B. Council, 91 of Fayetteville, died Wednesday, April the 4th. Funeral Friday noon, Colvin Funeral Home Chapel. Visitation Colvin Funeral Home Chapel Thursday noon, 2 p.m. Burial Northside Cemetery, Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory.
And as I do on Wednesday, I always read Billy Graham column after the obituaries. Heaven will be pure beyond comprehension and imagination. And there's a picture of Billy Graham here. From the writings of the Reverend Billy Graham. Question: when we get to heaven, will we ever have worries or bad thoughts or think about things we really shouldn't think about? Sometimes my brain wanders all over the place, and I find myself thinking about things I know I shouldn't. Will it be different in heaven? J.S. Answer: yes, it definitely will be different in heaven. The Bible says that in heaven all sins will be banished, including not only evil actions but evil thoughts and emotions. The Bible says nothing impure will ever enter it, nor will anyone who does what is shameful or deceitful. Revelation 21:27. Remember, in heaven we will be given new and glorious bodies similar to the body Jesus had after his resurrection. As part of this, we'll also be given new minds that are pure and untouched by sin and are able to discover all the truths God has in store for us. I can barely imagine what that will be like, but it is God's promise to us. In that day, the Bible says, we will be like Christ, for we shall see him as he is. In addition, in heaven our hearts and minds will be filled with joy and wonder, because we will be in God's presence forever. Think of it. Someday we will be with God. All the things that distract us now will fade away in the light of God's glory and love. Make sure of your commitment to Jesus Christ. Have you invited him into your life? And are you seeking to grow closer to him every day? Through prayer, the Bible, and fellowship with other believers, the closer we are to Christ, the less we'll be distracted by evil. The Bible says, set your mind on things above, not on earthly things. And I'm going to read the horoscope. And guess what you have today? I don't know if there are any birthdays, but Ralph will read that in a minute. Horoscope by Stella Wilder. Born today, you cannot always be counted on to do what is acceptable or even what is best for you. The truth is that you are rather mischievous and all too willing to turn away from what you know is a better choice to explore that which could possibly bring you greater enjoyment, but at a much higher cost. Ooh. Okay, Aries. You may be in need of a change of scenery today. Explore some unfamiliar territory and you may find what is just right for you. Taurus. Open discussion is likely to be the only avenue to understanding and agreement today, so why not get it going right away? Gemini. Others are waiting for you to make a plan, but you're not sure how you want to begin. A little exploration is necessary. Cancer. You may not get a second chance, so be sure you make a strong start the first time. You'll be putting all your eggs into one basket. Leo, you may be wandering between two different points of interest today. Soon you will have to settle somewhere. Virgo, progress is made in small increments today, but even moving forward very slowly, you will be able to assess how far you're actually going. Libra, someone you thought you knew very well is likely to surprise you with behavior that is certainly not to be considered appropriate today. Scorpio, you're trying to gather your forces in preparation for a major campaign, but things don't seem to be aligning the way you had hoped yet. Sagittarius, you may be criticized for putting a negative spin on things when you're really trying to promote a realistic outlook. Capricorn, a friend is likely to make a choice you would never make. Still, you can learn something about what is possible. Aquarius, you have nothing to fear by talking to someone in charge today. Your ideas are just as valid and they should be heard. Pisces, it's time to consider an option that you have been saving for. What's changed that makes you think of it now? And we'll have from Ralph the dear Abby, I think.
Mom rattled to learn son has started cross-dressing. Dear Abby, who is Janine Phillips, who is Abby's daughter. My son's girlfriend confided to me that my son, age 35, is cross-dressing. I knew his life was in flux and that his appearance had changed, but it stunned me. He hasn't mentioned anything, and she said he would be very upset if I knew. When I saw him the same day, I made sure to hug him and tell him I love him. Please tell me what to do or say. What to say in Texas. Dear what? Do nothing. Say nothing. This isn't your business. And the girlfriend was wrong to betray your son's confidence. It may reassure you to know that cross-dressing has been around for centuries and has been present in many cultures. Your son isn't the only cross-dresser in the United States or even the state of Texas. Most male cross-dressers are heterosexual and do it because it feels good to them. It is no reflection on their morals, their sexual orientation, or gender identity. So get off of it. Dear Abby, I have a 6-year-old son, Tyler, from a previous relationship. I've been dating a man I'll call Chad for almost 4 years. My problem is Chad can't seem to have any kind of relationship or interaction with Tyler. Chad isn't abusive, but he constantly ignores my boy and gives him no attention. I thought after all this time Chad would be used to my son. But it hasn't happened. Sometimes he seems annoyed when Tyler is in the same room. I'm not sure if I should end the relationship or stick around. Any advice would be helpful. Losing hope. Fear losing hope. Your responsibility, your first responsibility, is to your son. The way Chad treats Tyler will eventually damage the boy's self-esteem if it hasn't already. Children are perceptive. When they are ignored, they know something is wrong and think it's their fault. There's something wrong with them and that they don't measure up. My advice is to tell Chad the romance is over and why. Frankly, you should have done it years ago. I admit I'm a loud snorer. However, I was on a plane recently flying home after an exhausting trip. I fell asleep and my seatmate repeatedly woke me up to complain about my snoring. Shouldn't the woman have let me sleep in peace if she saw that I was genuinely tired? What made her needs greater than mine, trying to sleep? Dear trying to sleep. Not knowing the woman, it's hard to say. Perhaps your seatmate felt entitled to a quiet flight, and your snoring was so disruptive that even with earphones she could concentrate on nothing else. I suppose she could have asked the flight attendant to change her seat, but if the flight was fully booked, she probably woke you up because she wasn't inclined to suffer from coast to coast. P.S. I would be remiss in my responsibility as an advice columnist if I didn't urge you to discuss your snoring with a doctor. It could be a symptom of sleep apnea, a condition that is very serious.
Community Watch is neighbors looking out for one another. This is by Bill Kirby. When it comes to Community Watch, you'll find DJ Hare supporting neighborhoods in his Fayetteville City Council district, and not just when it's convenient, or Hare is on the campaign trail. I kind of spoil my Community Watch residents. Hare, who represents District 4, was telling Police Chief Gina Hawkins at a recent council work session, I try to go to everyone. Hawkins was telling Mayor Mitch Colvin, Mayor Pro Tem Ted Mon, and council members Larry Wright, Kathy Keefe Jensen, Tisha Waddell, Tyrone Williams, Johnny Dawkins, and Hare. This is a city with a population of 208,729 and 1,036 neighborhoods, and 143 of those subdivisions have Community Watch programs. The watch programs are comprised of residents who keep an eye out for suspicious activities and meet to update one another on the best way to keep their homes, vehicles, and other property safe and secure. Some happen quarterly, Hawkins was saying about the Community Watch group, some monthly, and some don't know when. You sometimes find a police officer or the chief herself at a meeting to give his or her view about how the program can help the police department deter crime. After all, police officers can't be everywhere, and that's why a Community Watch can be so valuable to a neighborhood. This is their watch, Hawkins says about the program. And the more Community Watch programs in neighborhoods, the more eyes and ears in helping alert police to crime. Don't get the idea, Hawkins says, that because you are part of a Community Watch group that you have a law when it comes to catching a thief. It's not a vigilante group, Hawkins said. It's not about taking the law into your own hands. It is about being vigilant if you see something that doesn't look quite right in your neighborhood. Say something to law enforcement, and Hawkins says her officers will check it out. And your call is just as important, she says, as if the mayor were calling. I love my neighbors being nosy, Hawkins says about her Community Watch group. You'll find Community Watch programs in neighborhoods from Green Valley Estates, Scottsdale, Pleasant Acres, Wells Place, Eccles Park, Cliffdale West, Bone Creek, Lafayette Village West, Lafayette Village South Hills, Massey Hill, Hollywood Heights, Emerald Garden, Broadell, Seabrook, Erin Lake, Smithgate, B Street, Hellendale West, West Point, Summerhill, Brookwood, Evans Hill, Windsor Terrace, Stubbs Acres, Hunters Crossing, Devonwood, Cornbow Lake, In the Pines, Foxfire, Heather Ridge, Tiffany Pines, and Oak Ridge, General Lee in Haymont, among those active organizations. I don't see the rest of the article, but there was another portion. However, that's all we have. I'll read Cheers and Jeers to you. Cheers to Bramble Builders. They recently converted my screened porch to an easy breeze 3 seasons room. The large panels can stay down to keep the pollen out, or raised to let the fresh air in. I am beyond thrilled with the look of the room. The company is so professional, from the office manager, Carolyn Neely, to the project manager, Mickey Bramble, and his team members, Randy and Jeremiah. They arrived when they said they would and finished in a timely manner. The price was very reasonable. I could not be happier with my new room. I highly recommend this company. From Kitty Throckmorton of Fayetteville.
FBI agents were looking for payment records president thinks Reagan went too far, still believes he can fire Mueller. The few federal agents who raided the office of President Donald Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen, were looking for records about payments to a former Playboy playmate and to porn actress Stormy Daniels, who both claimed to have had affairs with Trump. That's according to a report Tuesday from the New York Times. The newspaper, citing several people briefed on the investigation, reported that FBI agents were looking for records of payments to ex-playmate Karen McDougal and also information related to the publisher of the National Enquirer. The raid prompted a new blast Tuesday from the president, who tweeted that attorney-client privilege is dead. And White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that the president thinks he can fire special counsel Robert Mueller, but isn't taking that step now. McDougal has said she carried on an affair with Trump in 2006 after the birth of his son. The Enquirer's publisher, American Media Incorporated, paid McDougal $150,000 but never published her story. AMI says she paid to become a fitness column. The AP has confirmed that agents on Monday also seized records related to a $130,000 payment made to Daniels, who says she had sex with Trump in 2006. A furious Trump, who in the past month has escalated his attacks on Mueller's Russia investigation, said Monday from the White House that it was a disgrace that the FBI broke into his lawyer's office. He called Mueller's investigation an attack on our country, prompting new speculation that he might seek the removal of the Justice Department's special counsel. On Tuesday, Sanders said Trump believes the raid on the Cohen's office went too far, but she also said that it's a separate investigation. Still, Trump certainly believes that he has the power to directly fire Mueller, and he has been advised that he has that authority. She did not say where the advice came from. Justice Department guidelines say only Deputy Attorney Rod Rosenstein, who appointed Mueller last May, has the authority to fire him, and only for specific cause. Rosenstein has repeatedly said that he has not seen any reason to dismiss Mueller. The raid was based in part on a referral from Mueller, said Cohen's lawyer, Stephen Ryan. This is the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service, a United Way partner agency. We broadcast from the campus of Fayetteville State University, and our signal is carried by WUNC Chapel Hill. As a nonprofit agency, we rely on public donations. We request your support to continue our services. When making a charitable donation, please keep the Southeastern North Carolina Radio Reading Service in mind. If you have any questions, or call 910-672-1600. Your radio hosts are
Marty Baldwin
and Ralph Walkie Robertson, and we are proud to serve you today. And of course, don't forget the 8th annual Radio Reading Service Golf Tournament will be coming up here on May the 12th, which has been rescheduled, of course, from April 7th because of the rain and storms we had that day. You don't like to be playing golf in the rain and storm, especially when it's lightning, because it gets kind of frightening out there. So anyway, that will be upcoming, and we need your help. All of you have to buy something from somebody. Tell that somebody that you need a door prize. Call Val and she'll come pick it up. Or you can sponsor a hole for only $100. Or you can tell your friends that play golf to join in on the tournament. That's Saturday, May 12th, high noon tee-offs.
All right. Here is the state to receive additional Hurricane Matthew recovery funding. North Carolina will receive $189 million in additional money for Hurricane Matthew recovery, according to a press release Tuesday from U.S. Senators Richard Burr and Tom Tillis. The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development will provide $168 million in disaster mitigation grants, and the U.S. Department of Transportation will provide $21 million in disaster assistance, according to the release. The senators secured the funds in a Senate budget agreement passed in February. The release states so far, North Carolina has received $1.4 billion to help recover from Matthew, a deadly storm that struck in October of 2016. It caused widespread flooding and an estimated $4.8 billion in property damage. I think that probably the places in North Carolina that are flood prone and flood areas where they build and build and build because it's allowed, I don't think people who live in flood zones should get anything for being flooded. I think somebody, unless they can sue their builder and get money from them. I would suggest that those of you who live in flood zones get insurance, or I don't know what you can do. I know we all can't afford to move and lose, but your house is not worth very much if it's been flooded, because the realtor would have to reveal that. Cooper calls for more funds to address Gen X. This is such a scandal, this Gen X, and I don't hear anybody writing about it. We're breathing the filthy air in Fayetteville. I did find out that we are 5, but I don't happen to understand what 5 means, if that's high or low or medium. I asked Siri, but since we are the world's swine producers and maybe fowl producers, and we have companies that are allowed to poison us, poison the air and poison the water, I would think that perhaps the water, of course you don't drink it anymore, but maybe the air quality is not good in Fayetteville. I'd be very interested. I think I'll ask Bill Kirby. He knows how to find out. Here's North Carolina should tackle an emerging problem of water and air pollution from little-studied industrial chemicals by beefing up. Well, see, that's exactly it. Our state doesn't care if you breathe horrible air or get poisoned. It's they just don't seem to mind. Little-studied industrial chemicals. They should beef up the state's health and environmental agencies, Governor Roy Cooper said Tuesday. Oh, thanks for saying that, Roy. I'm just thrilled to death. Cooper proposed spending $14.5 million to help improve the ability of the Department of Environmental Quality and Department of Health and Human Services to protect the water and the environment. You're really, really getting a very late start in this state. Legislators have resisted increasing agency budgets for the past year, despite rising concern over the presence of little-studied industrial chemicals in water supplies. Lawmakers failed in February to agree on an extra $2.3 million for the environmental agencies. That's the way the people are treated here by their leaders. Maybe they drink water that's pure. State regulators said in a new court statement or documents this week that the operators of a chemical plant near Fayetteville have lied for years about discharging compounds that have gotten into drinking water supplies as much as 100 miles away in Wilmington. Yeah, that river does go down to Wilmington, and once you pollute it at the site of Gen X been going down there for years. Spokesman for Wilmington, Delaware-based Chemours Company did not respond Tuesday to a request for comment. Actually, they've known about this for 12 years. People's wells are poisoned, and their ground is poisoned, and the crops they grow are poisoned, and the dust inside their house is poisoned. Thank you, fearless leaders. A month-long investigation by department found Chemours contaminated the state's air, surface water, and groundwater through the release of chemical nicknamed Gen X. Attorneys for the Environmental Agency said in an updated lawsuit filed Monday. However, the plant is still running. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and State Health Agency have recognized Gen X may present an unreasonable risk of injury to human health and the environment, the court filing said. But the chemical plant is still pouring the chemicals into the water, which goes also into the air. The agency said that Chemours and its predecessor DuPont have lied about discharging Gen X for decades into the Cape Fear River. DuPont spun off Chemours in 2015, probably because they knew. Despite knowledge of health risks associated with Gen X, Chemours failed to disclose the presence of Gen X in its processed wastewater, and even made statements that misled DEQ as to the presence of Gen X, the environmental agency said in the lawsuit. The suit was filed last fall in Bladen County, where the plant is located. The agency said it continues to detect concentrations of Gen X in the water being discharged by the Fayetteville area factory. Oh boy, wouldn't you love to work in that filthy factory? It employs 900 workers. The chemical has also caused significant and widespread groundwater contamination and falls to the ground in rainwater miles away from the plant at levels that far exceed emission rates previously reported to DEQ. Gen X has been used since 2009. Are you thrilled? Studies point to Gen X and related chemicals as having toxic effects in animals, but its effects in humans aren't known. It affects your breathing, it affects animals, it affects the groundwater, it affects what you plant, it affects the dust in your house, and they dare to say that, oh well, we don't know if it affects humans or not. Gen X has been used since 2009. Studies point to Gen X and related chemicals as having toxic effect. There are no federal health standards for Gen X, and the U.S. and the U. I don't know what that means. It is classified as an emerging contaminant to be studied. And that's how our leaders protect us.
Can Trump's deal of the century bring peace? Given the chaos in the White House and President Donald Trump's rush to abandon Syria to Iran and the next version of ISIS, it's easy to overlook two critical Mideast milestones. The first was the announcement by Israel officials that the number of Jews and Arabs living under Israeli control between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea was now equal at 6.5 million. That includes Palestinians who live in the occupied areas of West Bank, Gaza, and East Jerusalem, as well as Palestinian citizens of Israel. Which brings us to the second milestone. In May, Trump will reportedly unveil his proposal deal of the century for resolving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. If leaked details prove correct, the plan basically endorses the status quo, with limited autonomy for Palestinians in around 40% of the West Bank. Such a plan will only inflame local tensions. The arrival of population parity provides a warning that the status quo cannot hold the current violence in Gaza in a preview of coming attractions. It confronts Israel with critical choices about whether to divide the land into two states or rule over one state with a mostly disenfranchised Arab population that will soon outnumber Jews. Leading Israeli politicians have said publicly that a one-state solution will lead to a variant of apartheid. with Israelis soon ruling over a Palestinian majority that has no political rights or control over its economy. Yet on a recent visit to Jerusalem and in talks with Israeli politicians from left and right, and with Palestinian leaders, I found no one who could offer a formula that avoided the perils of one-state apartheid, but resolved Israeli security fears about the establishment of a sovereign Palestinian state. And it would be much harder now to envision a two sovereign states formula now that it would have been in the 80s or 90s when the Mideast was more stable. On my recent trip, however, I found a remarkable complacency on the Israeli right based on two assumptions. First, that Trump would accept the annexation of large chunks of the West Bank, leaving Palestinians with limited control over a small, non-contiguous territory. And second, that such a plan would be acceptable to major Arab states such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt that now saw Israel as an ally against Iran. That thinking is short-sighted. It leaves Israel unprepared for a surge in violence from frustrated Palestinian youth who see no decent economic or political future down the road. So in the run-up to the Trump plan, I intend to present some of the ideas I heard in Israel and the West Bank in several columns, ending with my conclusions on a formula that might at least stabilize.
That's it for all of the articles. I guess we will go to
Food ads. Food ad Wednesday is food ad day. So we need to do some food ads.
I'll start with Aldi, where I mainly shop. Like their prices. A pineapple each, $1.39. Organic spring mix of whatever that is. I guess it's a greens. $3.79 for a 16 pound. That sounds expensive, but 99 cents a pound for green beans. Brussels sprouts.